Hey friends, this is Wendy with STAMPIN. I am so excited that you're here with me today. We are going to make 3 different bridge cards. They're different sizes and different styles, and I cannot wait to show these to you. Okay, we're going to start out with this one will fit in an A2 size card, and it's what I'm going to call a landscape style card. We're going to start with an 8 by 4¼ inch piece of Misty Moonlight cardstock, and we're scoring at 1¼ inch and 2½ inches. We're going to flip it over and score exactly the same on the other side. Sorry, I'm a little out of view here for the top of my trimmer, but the measurements are still the same. So, and then you need a little piece here that's cut at 1½ by 5½. We're going to fold in and then back on all of these cards. They'll go in on the most inside score line and back on the outer score line. And here is how that bridge card will come together. Now, the way I'm doing this card is I am going to do all of the measurements, all of the scoring, so that you can see how they come together, because today is Saturday, which means it's story time, and boy, do I have a story time for you. So we're going to do this part first so that anybody who wants to see these pieces can see them and leave if they need to. Okay, so this one is a slimline, and it is cut at 5 by 8½, and then I'm scoring at 3/4 inch and 1½ inches, and then flipping it and doing exactly the same on the other side. The little strips I have that are going to go across the front of this card are cut at 1 inch by 3. Did I write it down? I didn't write it down. 3 inches. Pretty sure it's 3. Might be 3½. I'll double check. The great news is I have a free project sheet for you for every single one of these cards. You can find it at the link below the video where it says measurements and supplies. You're going to click that link, go over to my blog, and there on my blog you will find 3 project sheets. It will say click here for project sheet 1, click here for project sheet 2, and you'll click on those, it will download them, and you will be able to print them. Here is our 3rd bridge fold card, and this one is cut at 5½ by 5¾ and then I'm scoring at 3/4 inch and 1½ inches on each side on the 5¾ inch side, so on the longer side. This one and the first one I showed you will fit in a regular A2 US size card envelope. So when they're folded flat, they will fit in a regular envelope. The large slimline one I showed you will fit inside of a Stampin' Up! Slimline envelope, which, by the way, are carrying over to the new Stampin' Up! Catalog, which is very exciting. So I made sure that slimline one would fit inside a slimline envelope. Here are all 3 of the sizes. Again, that project sheet is available for you over on my blog at the measurements and supplies link in the description of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave them in the YouTube description, or you can always email me at wendy@loveandstampin.com. What we're going to do now that you have the base measurements is we're going to decorate these cards. Now, over on my blog in this project sheets that you can print, I have detailed out the measurements of all the designer series papers and all of those things. I am not going to share the measurements here as we proceed because I just want to have fun spending time with you. I have a lot of story time to tell you, and I want to just decorate these cards and enjoy. If there are tips or tricks I need to tell you along the way, I will interrupt my story time to tell you those. But as far as the measurements for all of the rest of these supplies, just head down to the description in the video, click that measurements and supplies link, and it will take you directly to my blog post. Okay? Now, we are using the Mountain Stamp Set and Dies. I cannot remember the name of it right now. It's escaping me, but again, it will be on that supply list, so don't you fret. And I realized I had this upside down like a big ding dong. So I fixed that, put it correctly, and then we're going to die cut this little border edge out, and we're going to use it as a 3-dimensional piece inside of our first bridge card. Now, Misty Moonlight cardstock is retiring. It is going away, and for several people, that makes them want to cry. The one that makes me want to cry is Bumblebee and Cinnamon Cider. I can live without this Misty Moonlight. It's a good color, but it's okay. But Bumblebee and Cinnamon Cider that are retiring from Stampin' Up! Are really heart-wrenching. There are some other items that are going to be going to the wayside in the catalog that I'm a little bummed about, but I have seen the new catalog, friends, and let me tell you, it is fabulous. There's lots of really fun items in there, and I am not worried at all about having plenty of things to choose from to create and provide you inspiration. So don't you fret, my pet. We've got it covered. So here, jumping back to the card, I've cut this little insert piece at 3/4 of an inch by 3.5, and I'm going to score it at 1/4 of an inch on each side. And this is going to be an insert that's going to go inside the slimline card, the bridge fold card behind the front flap to just kind of give some extra dimension. Now, I'm going to be terribly honest with you. I had in my head so many ideas for all of these cards, things I wanted to do for each and every one of them that were very elaborate. I, however, ran out of time, and this was going to lead us right into story time. This week has been a very challenging week for me. Nothing out of the ordinary, but just normal mom life. Running the kid in 100 directions, making meals for, dinners, just all the normal things that moms do. And I just want to shout out to all of the moms and the Mr. Moms out there that dedicate so much energy into caring for other human beings. It is a full-time job just by itself without having to work outside the home or running your own business or any of these other things. Just being a mom and taking care of other human beings is extremely exhausting, and sometimes it gets the better of me. Sometimes I just wear out, and that's what happened this week. I was just tired this week. I struggled to find motivation. I struggled to stay on task. I have basically self-diagnosed myself with ADD or ADHD, some sort of form of that, just from listening to some podcasts and different things. Like, I just align with a lot of the tendencies of being able to stay focused, stay on track. Those are all struggles for me. And a lot of people wouldn't think that about me, seeing how I function and seeing all that I get done in a day. And I'm not trying to brag or boast that, oh, I'm so amazing. I'm just saying I do a lot. I keep very busy and I get a lot done between my business and home life. So it probably wouldn't seem to a lot of people that I am frazzled or disorganized, but a lot of the times the truth is I am. There are a lot of days that I come into my office and I kind of have what they call like brain fog, where it's like I'm struggling to figure out what to do first, or I start on a task and then I get distracted by another task and I move over to that task, and then pretty soon the first task that I started on still hasn't been finished. So I've just this week has been rough in that regard. Okay, here, back to the card. We are gluing one side down first to the edge, and then what we're doing is laying it so that the other side lays flat. And then, as you can see, when this pops up, it makes one full scene. I used the Horizons Designer Series paper for this. I think it's called New Horizons. Again, link in the description below the video because I can't remember anything. At the time that I'm recording this, it is 6:45 on Friday night. I am currently half a glass of wine in, and I have my wine sitting right here next to me while we're having this conversation. I just felt the need to have a glass of wine this Friday. So my brain is on shutdown mode. By Friday evening, I am just not in the best brain space. So you'll have to forgive me if I forget the names of things or just ignore it. Just know that I've provided all of it in the project sheets, and that's where you can count on the information being 100% correct. Well, okay, 99%. So I grabbed my Celebrate Sunflower stamp set and I decided to stamp this image that says, "Let's celebrate you." Now, we haven't even scratched the surface on Storytime, and I better get with it or I'm not even going to get everything in. So this week has been interesting. Besides the fact that I'm struggling with a little bit of burnout, my daughter has taken up horseback riding lessons, which we've talked about. A friend of mine from when we were young is the one giving them to her, but she has an extremely busy life herself, and she's canceled several of the riding lessons, which then leaves my daughter in dismay. She wants to ride, she wants to learn, she's very excited, and so it's very disappointing to her every single time my friend cancels. And I struggle because I know my friend is extremely good at what she does, and I want her to be the one to give my daughter lessons, but I also don't want my daughter to be disappointed. So for those of you who have walked through any sort of situation like this, I ask you to please leave me a comment below and give me some advice. Do I tell my friend, like, hey, I get that your life is super busy. Do you have a recommendation for us to go to somebody that I can have consistent? Because the other issue I have is, like, I have a busy life too, and my time matters also. So if I'm carving out time to get my daughter to this writing lesson and then they get canceled all of the time, I also am a little frustrated by that because, I have it on my calendar to make that happen for my daughter. And then if it doesn't happen, you get what I'm saying. So there's multitudes of things here. Like, one, I really want her to be with this person because I feel like she'll get the best training with her. But on the flip side, she's also a very busy working mom, and she does do training lessons, but she's kind of backed away from that and is doing, like, working for a vet now. And so I just, I don't know what to do. So that's one situation that's happening. Okay. So my daughter, actually, I'm not going to say the days that my daughter goes to school here on the interwebs because there's creeps that live on the interwebs. But let's just say one day this week, my daughter went to school because she doesn't go every day. So she went to school one day this week, and it was later in the week. And so I go pick her up, and I have a friend who lives down the street. Some of you might be familiar with her. Her name is Katina. She is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And we've known each other for like 25 years. We have kids the same age. And so she drives them to school in the morning. I bring them home. So I went to pick the kids up to bring them home. And I get there. I have 3 kids that I pick up, my daughter and 2 other kids. So I pick them up and we leave. And about, 2 minutes after leaving the school, we decide we're going to go to Starbucks. So we are on our way to Starbucks, and this sheriff's SUV passes us driving so fast that it like shook our car. He crossed the double yellow line, breezed by us, lights on, going a bazillion miles an hour, and our car like moved because he was driving so fast. And I was like, uh-oh, something bad must have happened. So then, like, seconds later, another one drives by. 20 seconds later, we're at this stoplight. 3 more come by and they're unmarked. And I was like, okay, something horrible's happening. A few seconds later, we're pulled into this sandwich shop that I love. And I'm in line to get a sandwich. And in the drive-thru, because they have a drive-thru. And 3 or 4 more sheriff's cars drive by. And they're not cars, they're the big SUVs. And I'm like, something horrible must be happening. So about that time, while we're sitting in this line, my daughter gets a text from somebody at the school who's a friend of hers, and it says, there is an active shooter. We don't know where it's at. We are in lockdown. I'm getting chills telling you guys this. Okay. So I'm like, what? What is happening? And she's like, yeah, Kate, this friend of hers, is texting me, and she's inside the room they have them all in, and they're locking them down, and they're telling them they can't leave. And I'm like, oh my God, my heart just sinks because I know so many of the kids she goes to school with. So one of her other little friends who was literally walking by our car um, when we were leaving the school, I immediately say, where is she? And I say her name. Where is this girl's name? And I'm like, you need to get a hold of her immediately. If I need to go back and find her, because I didn't know if she like walks somewhere. Like, it was panic for me. It was horrible. So here's, by the way, back to the card. Here's the finished card. As you can see, it will lay flat in either direction, and it will fit perfectly in an A2 size envelope. So the other thing that I wanted to show you on this card is I'm cutting a 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece of white cardstock. I am going to use a binder clip to pin this to the back of this card. Why? You're like, why would you do that? Because I don't want to have to fill this card out with it smushed flat on the front. So what I'm doing is making my little piece here prepared for that. When I am ready to fill this out, I can just fill it. I can take that off. I can fill it out, glue it on, and I'll be done. This is a little happy birthday card that I created using some of that Abstract Beauty Designer Series paper and the Puffins stamp set. And I just think it's so cute. Aren't these both cute? So I had to show you both of those. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to do the slimline. So remember back at the beginning of the video, we already used the crumb cake cardstock to score the slimline card. And now we're going to use the Stitchery die to, or is it like Stitchery Greenery? I don't know. Anyways, we're using this die to create kind of a patterned background to go inside of this slimline card. And again, measurements will be on the project sheet. So I'm gonna have to run this through twice because it's too long to fit just the one time. So then we'll move the die down and we'll do it again. The only thing I would do differently is I should have only put the clear plate up to where the die was versus all the way up, because then it smashed some of that. Like right here, it smashed down the top so that that part of the stitching wasn't as prominent. So I wish I would have just only put that clear plate up to where the die was. Okay, we're gonna go do decorating now, and we don't have to talk about the card because it's very self-explanatory what I'm doing. We're gonna go back to story time. So I tell my daughter, find out where she is. So she starts texting her. There's no response. So I'm freaked out about this one friend because I love this kid. Like she's just a kid that I really, really like. You know, some kids you just really like and others you're like, okay, you're driving me nuts. She's a kid I really like. And I toted her around a bunch during volleyball season. So I kind of got to know her, and I got to know her mom. And so I just was panicking about her. Here, I did this off screen where I stamped the images on these little strips. So I'm just going to add them. But before I do that, I'm going to ink blend the crumb cake. Okay. So she's texting. I'm panicking. I'm trying to hold it together because these kids are in the car with me. But it's also setting into me that if we would have been, first of all, if I would have been 5 minutes late to that school, my kid would have been locked in that room. And I cannot even explain to you the amount of like how disturbing that thought was. And if I would not have been able to put my hands on my kid and hold her and hug her, and she was in that room, I would have just flipped out. So I thank God, as soon as this happened, I was thanking God that I was on time, that I had all three of these kids in my care. So then I went into problem solver mode. I was like, okay, first thing I need to do is I need to contact my husband. I need to contact the parents of the children I have with me, because I'm certain this is going to be on the news. And I'm also certain it's going to be released like from the school, like they're going to send out a message. And I don't want these parents to freak out like I would freak out that their kid isn't safe. So we go through all of that. I couldn't get a hold of my husband, but I finally got a text sent to him, and I called the one of the kid that I had with me. I called her mom, and then the other kid called her dad herself and got a hold of her mom. And so that was covered. And then I thought of my mother-in-law, because she watches the news. They're like the people that have the news on in the house all the time. So it's more her husband, it's more my father-in-law than her, but the news is on a lot there. So I was like, I don't want this to show up on the news and they're like freaking out. So we were told by the girl that was locked in the room that she could hear gunshots. That's what my daughter's text message said. So they were all safe, locked in the room. Long story short, after finally like finding more information online and getting information from like Facebook groups that are part of Neighborhood Watch, and now of course the news has been released. What actually happened is there was an explosion, and it was right next to the school, and it sounded like gunfire. So the schools called 911 immediately, and of course, like they had the sheriff's department had to start figuring out what was going on. They think the guy who caused the explosion near the school got away. They're pretty sure he was like in a green Camry, like Toyota Camry or something. There is a huge methamphetamine problem in the area I live in. So I thought, well, maybe a meth lab blew up or something. Look at how cute this is. So I used the Barnyard stamp set for this, and I just absolutely love how this card turned out. And it lays flat, and it fits perfectly in a slimline card. Isn't that fun? So fun. So, anyway, that was earlier this week. Everything's fine. Everybody was safe. Nobody was harmed, but it was terrifying. Okay, on to this card. This is a really quick card because I thought I was filming and it wasn't filming. But this is a brand new stamp set called Good Feelings that's going to be offered in the brand new Stampin' Up! Catalog. And what I did is I took Daffodil Delight and Coastal Cabana, and I inked up the top with Daffodil, the bottom with Coastal, and I stamped it. I used the contoured scallop dies to cut my dies here, and then we're just going to put this card all the way together. Now, back to story time. Not to leave you on a bad note, everything else about this week has been fine. Other than just kind of being tired and having that normal mom burnout, which I know you all can relate with. There's been nothing significant that's been horrible. The possible active shooter thing was rough, but we got through it. And at the end of the day, I am so thankful that nobody was harmed. Today, this morning, I came out to my office to start working. If you have requested a catalog from me, they should be coming. I'm sending you a letter in the mail about the catalog, along with a flyer that has information about the ink colors. And I started printing them, and then my printer quit working. So I spent 4 hours this morning troubleshooting my printer and trying to figure out how to get it to work. And in the end, I ended up at Staples buying a new printer. I have not had a new printer in probably 4 or 5 years. So it ended up being fine to just have to buy a new one. Not a big deal. But it was one of those things where it just ate up a bunch of time during the day today that I wish I would have spent making more cards for you. But at the end of the day, I feel like 3 cards was good. This one will also fold flat and fit in an A2 size envelope. which makes me very happy. I like it when cards fit in envelopes that we already have the sizes for. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to make special envelopes. I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but I don't want to. Does that make any sense? So here are all the cards, all 4 of them. Tell me which one is your favorite. Hopefully I did not totally bore you with story time. Make sure you update me on what's going on in your life. That's why we do this. I love hearing from you guys. And if you need any of the supplies or products you saw me use today, shop with me at shoploveandstampin.com. And don't forget your free project sheets. Talk to you later. Stay inky. Bye.